gonna blast the horn and we're gonna splash down. There we go. Duck is that the wheels have not retracted, they're still turning. So that means if you hit something, you just drive over it. And that was the whole idea during World War II. Because of the South Pacific, you had all the cool. And in the Mediterranean, you had all the sandbars. If you hit the bottom of the river, you just drive like a truck. It's an excellent vehicle for flooding situations. Sometimes we use them in the winter, because we don't give tours in the winter, because this ice is over a little. If it snowed out, we wouldn't be able to get out of the ramp because it's too slippery. So we use them for the state. Sometimes the state hires us to go out to different communities and pick people up at their homes and drive to subway stations because there's so much flooding in the wintertime. All that snow starts melting. It can do a lot of things a boat can do. It's just not very fast because it's all made of steel. This thing empties like 19,000 pounds. Right now we're at about 15 feet deep. This is salt water. The further up you go into the suburbs, it's fresh water. This river starts in a town called Hopkinton, 26 miles away, but it's a very winding, narrow river. It winds for about 79 miles. Which technically makes it not a river, because a river has to be 80 or more. But they've been calling it the Charles River since the days of John Smith in the Pocahontas story. He was the first guy to make a map of this river. Sent the map back to England, and a young Prince Charles named it after himself. And it became King Charles. All the river that you see on the tour here is man-made, meaning it was redirected for shipping. This used to be the harbor back in the 1970s. And that used to be the entrance to the river, straight ahead. And that's the old lock system they don't use anymore. Got a new lock behind us. Where the Museum of Science is, that used to be an industrial dam. See the metal coming up on each side. That used to be the floodgate back about 50 years ago. So they used to lock you in and raise you up, because the river could be anywhere from 2 to 10 feet higher than the harbor. Water would get under the front gate, you would rise up, the front gate would open. There's a duck towing another duck, and that is not a real breakdown. Those are our employees training. Every year the Coast Guard has us trained. I did mine the other day. See how slow they're going. One duck is pulling another 18,000 pound duck. towing Arborway Alex. Apparently it was that mayor who was thrown in jail. The Arborway is the big greenery. It's all the way up to the Franklin Park Zoo. Anybody want to drive? Anybody want to steer the boat? We let people drive all the time. It's very easy. It's very slow. Anybody come up? Come on, it'll make you cool. Come on up, man. Watch your head on that mirror. People always hit their head. It doesn't turn right away because it's so heavy. This thing is so heavy it does 2 miles per gallon of biodiesel. You can go about 25 miles per hour on the highway. Not really built for speed, built more for safety. These are called truck ducks. I think we're the only city in the country that has them. They're really good in bad weather. It goes Dorchester, Dottie, Palmagats. Dorchester, huge neighborhood of Boston. Makes up about a third of the city. Alright, you're doing fine. Let's give this guy a round of applause for being brave and coming up. Here's a sticker for you, sir. Come on. There you go. Good job. Well done. He just drove a $375,000 vehicle. Anybody else want to try and drive? No? Okay. I guess that's it, Joseph. Anything else? If you change your mind, just tell us. We get a lot more time on the water. The fish that you would find in this river would be, in the summertime, striped bass. Normally there's eels and carp, herring, and then you go up into the suburbs and there's pickerel and perch. And hornpout, catfish. You can fish the river, you just need to get a license from a bait shop. It wasn't always like that. For years, this was a dead river. There were no birds and no fish. It was a sewer system for years. And they started cleaning this in the 1990s, and it took 20 years. But today, this is the cleanest river in any American city, according to the EPA. I didn't believe that when I first heard that. I looked it up on their website, epa.gov. And they recently gave this an A- rating, which is excellent. It used to be a D-. They wrote a song about it years ago, Love That Dirty Water by the Standells. They play it at Red Sox games. So people just assume it's still dirty. Also, the fact that it's so dark doesn't help people's impression either. Most New England rivers are kind of like brownish green, and that comes from vegetation. They call it tannic acid. It comes from trees. Most of this river is in the suburbs. When people swim in the river, they get a light film on their body, and they think that it's pollution. It's actually that tannic acid. It's natural. It's a little slimy, though. I personally would not swim in this river because it's so dark. It freaks me out. But I do swim in the harbor quite a bit. They cleaned up Boston Harbor in the 80s. I went swimming a whole bunch of times over the summertime. So you got Boston on the left, you got Cambridge on the right. Because of all the innovation coming out of these two cities, Boston, Cambridge were called the Athens of America, and that's the statue over to the right there. That's the Greek goddess Athena, the goddess of wisdom and war. And she's holding a spear on top of an old textbook company. That building marks the beginning of what's called Innovation Mile, and it's just building after building of billion-dollar corporations, mostly medical technology, like Genzyme, Biogen, EMC. That's big money. There's Foresight, there's stem cell research, they're huge, so they freeze umbilical cords. Because of companies in Cambridge, a lot of babies being born today gotta live over 100 years. A lot of more work goes on over there. A huge part of the economy of Massachusetts. Cambridge, the city's about 100,000 people, but it's often overshadowed by Boston, because Boston's the capital. And the tallest building that you can see on the left there is the new Millennium Tower. They just put that up a couple of years ago. The top floor penthouse went for $35 million. You can see the gold dome of the State House. That's real gold. 23 Carrot and Covers Your Copper Dome by Paul Revere. Paul Revere is mostly known for his midnight rides, but his real contribution was